We're factoring. Factor 12x squared plus 23x plus 5. So we check the powers of x. X squared, x, and then a constant. Perfect, they're in decreasing order. We look at all three terms. There's no greatest common factor. There's no factor that all three of them have in common. So then we're going to do the AC method to factor. A is the coefficient of x squared, it's 12. B is the coefficient of x, it's 23. And C is the constant. Remember, because you have ax squared plus bx plus c. That's where that comes from. Then we're going to take A and C and we're going to multiply them together. A times C is 12 times 5, which is 60. So A times C is 60. And we know the third term tells us signs in parentheses are the same. And we're going to use the middle sign. And then we're going to add to get the middle number. So both factors are going to get the same sign. And we know what sign it is. It's going to be the sign of the middle term. So let's write all the factors of 60. Then we're going to look at the signs to use. So 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, 6 and 10. So then the signs in the parentheses when we factor are going to be the same. We're going to use the middle sign. The middle sign here is plus. Signs are the same. We're going to add these to get the middle number. We're going to use the middle sign, which I said again is a plus. 1 plus 60 is 61. 2 plus 30 is 32. 3 plus 20 is 23. 4 plus 15 is 19. 5 plus 2 is 17. And 6 plus 10 is 16. We want the middle term to be 23. So we want the sum that's 23. We're going to rewrite 23x as plus 3x plus 20x. We're going to rewrite this trinomial in terms of 4 terms now. So 12x squared plus 3x plus 20x plus 5. We're going to factor by grouping. We're going to group the first pair together and then the back pair together. 12x squared plus 3x has greatest common factor 3x. 3x times what is 12x squared? 4x. And 3x times what is plus 3x? Positive 1. Then we do the same thing with the back two terms. 20x plus 5 has greatest common factor of 5. So let's do a positive 5. And then 5 times what gives me 20x? Well, that means we need a 4x right here. And 5 times what gives me positive 5? Positive 1. Okay, and if you notice, both of these have a 4x plus 1 in common. So look over here, if you had 3x times m plus 5 times m, and they both had an m in common, you could factor out an m. And you'd say m times what is 3x times m? 3x. And m times what is positive 5m? You get 3x plus 5, right? So where did the 3x plus 5 come from? 3x plus 5, right there. Oh look, we also have a 3x plus 5. So we rewrite the piece they have in common. We called it m. Down here when we factored, right? We called it m. And then we read off the rest of it. 3x plus 5, that gives us the second factor. 3x plus 5. Okay, let's try another one. We have 9x squared plus 5x minus 4. Okay, check the powers. X squared, x, and then a constant. So the powers are 2, 1, and 0. Descending order, perfect. You say, can you factor something out of all three terms? No. So we're going to do the AC method. So remember we had ax squared plus bx plus c. So a is 9, b is 5, and c is negative 4. So we're going to take a times c and we're going to multiply. So 9 times negative 4, we get a negative 36. We'll get to the negative, but let's first factor 36. Factors of 36, 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9. But we see it's a negative. So one of these will be positive, one will be negative. So if you look back at how this is written, this expression is written the first time, the third sign is negative. So that tells you that when you factor it, signs in your parentheses will be different. Okay? And we also know that we will subtract to get the middle number. The bigger factor will get the sign of the middle number. Okay, so that means this column, my bigger ones, get the sign of the middle. The sign of the middle is a positive. So the bigger factor gets the sign of the middle number. So positive for the bigger one. They have to be different, so this is a negative. Negative, positive. Does that make sense? Okay, then it says we're going to subtract. And that's what we're doing, right? If we combine these and one is a positive, one's a negative, we subtract and we keep the sign of the bigger one. So negative 1 plus 36, that's the same as 36 minus 1, that's 35. Then we have negative 2 plus 18, well that's 18 minus 2, that's 16. Negative 3 plus 12, that's the same as 12 minus 3, which is 9. Negative 4 plus 9 is the same as 9 minus 4, which is 5. And we want it to be positive 5. So we have a positive 5 right there. So we're going to rewrite our middle term, positive 5x, as negative 4x plus 9x. So we're going to have 9x squared minus 4x plus 9x minus 4, and then we factor by grouping. Pair the first two together, pair the back two together. What do the first two have in common? They just have an x. X times what gives me 9x squared? 9x. And x times what gives me negative 4x? Negative 4. Then you look at the back, and they don't have any factors in common other than the number 1. So I'm going to put plus 1, and I'm going to write 9x minus 4 inside parentheses. Now remember, every time we do this, we want these things that are left over when we factor, the pieces in the parentheses, to be exactly the same. And they are. So then you rewrite that, 9x minus 4. You say, well, I have x plus 1, and that's going to be the other factor. Okay? And then you're going to take a moment and you're going to FOIL this back out and make sure you get the expression we started with, right?